everything that every successful person has, consistency over time. It's the most boring thing. It's for diets. It's for consistency over time. And if you rep it out 10 years, 8 years, maybe even 5 years, like you will absolutely get there. So pick what you want to do in a talent and skill, study somebody that's doing it, reach out to people that you can give to and know that it's going to take time and you're going to get knocked down.
Yeah.
And if you have the don't give upness ability, like there it is. That's like, you can make millions of dollars, whatever you want to do. What is fundamental?
Fundamentalism. We're in the independent fundamental Baptist movement. So kind of culty.
Interesting.
A lot more culty than
culty in the way of like they're like different rules and stuff.
Like very traditional fundamentalist type rules. Just random stuff. Like if we got caught dancing, you get 15 demerits.
In
high school. Yeah. So like the church that I went to also had a school, and it was closed enrollment. So only members of the church could send their kids to the school.
Got you.
But it was a big church. It was like 5,000 people. So the school was like big for our circles, because there was a bunch of other schools that would have like 40 kids, K through 12. Ours had like 300, 400 K through 12.
Interesting. So if you got caught dancing, demerits, what do demerits equal?
So if you got 25 demerits, it was a suspension. 75 was expulsion.
Wow.
So like 15 was a pretty big one,
Man.
Offense,
So if
like
you
my
get
hair couldn't touch my ears, it had to be like trimmed up here.
Ooh.
I had to shave every day. We couldn't go to the movie theater. That was a big one.
Wow.
To watch any movies, not just bad ones.
I wonder who was behind here's the rules. Because this is this is what Jesus said. Just follow rules, and that's what's going to get you to heaven. It's not by grace you're saved. It's by cutting your hair and not dancing.
Yeah, there's not a whole chapter about him calling the Pharisees hypocrites for giving people checklists to follow. That doesn't exist in the Bible.
Yeah. It's just crazy how when people make rules.
Yeah.
Where do these rules come from?
They would always say 3 to thrive in those circles, because basically this old school IFB pastor from like the 50s said 3 to thrive, which basically meant that you have to go to church 3 times a week. So that became like doctrine in those circles. Wow. So we had Sunday morning church, Sunday night church, and Wednesday night church every week. And we had chapel at school. And then we had Saturday soul winning. And we'd have a soul winning rally before we go soul winning, which is just knocking on doors and inviting people to come to church, whatever. So it was like 7 days a week on that campus from the time that I was like 3 or 4 until I was 21, 22.
Jeez. That's one way to drive you away from church and the real relationship with Jesus.
That is exactly what
Oh, man. Yeah. Wow. Intense.
Yeah. So, yeah. Let's do it. You good? Rolling everywhere? Cool. And we'll go like 30, 45.
Cool.
Let's go with you.
Oh, I thought we were just rolling right there.
What time is it?
It's 2:30.
2:30?
Yeah.
I can put my little stopwatch on down here.
No, the board's counting
okay.
right now, so I'll just keep in mind what minute it was
Just
at.
do that through the show.
Yeah.
Always makes it feel like a riveting conversation when you're like,
yeah.
10 more minutes.
Well, let's see.
You can do that. Here? Rogan does all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Rogan does whatever. He rewrote the rules.
Yeah.
He just does whatever he wants.
Yeah, but I think that's even better. Like, if it's conversation, you do whatever you want. You're not.
Well, I think that's one reason people listen to podcasts, right?
Yeah.
What have you found with your show? Like you enjoy, what parts of your show do you enjoy doing the most?
That's a great question. I mean, I bring a lot of people on that like I actually really are interested in and I really want to learn from. And I've kind of shifted it more to optimizing for excellence. So there's something like I'll have a start to it. I kind of have pretty set flow to it, and then we'll go off it. But I like seeing like what these people are doing in top pressure moments, top situations. Like I just had Justin Forsett. He was a Pro Bowler, and he got his break as a punt returner. And like his moment was like pressure was on. He had to catch this, but like what is going through your mind when the most pressure, high stakes thing is going on? So I like to try to get that kind of stuff out of them.
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. Yeah. And I mean, we can probably just use a bunch of this kind of prelim conversation, Eric, just to roll directly into the episode. But as a kind of more hard start here, bro, let's rewind the clock a little bit for anybody listening, doesn't know, where you come from, what your story is. Let's say, 11-year-old David Nurse. Set the scene. Where'd you grow up?
11-year-old David Nurse. I mean, just a stud, just a macho stud. No, grew up small town, Iowa, Pella, Iowa. All I wanted to do was play in the NBA. So every waking hour was committed to basketball in the snow, outside in the driveway, you name it. Basketball. Like to this day, still think I could play in the NBA. So that's how committed I was. Yeah. Played college basketball, so kind of grinded my way there. Doctor said I was going to be 6'6", 6'7". I'm 6'1". Hope he's fired somewhere. Could file a lawsuit against it.
Give you false hope when you're a kid.
Unbelievable, man. I would have played a different sport had I known that.
Yeah, I used to pray that God would make me like 6'7".
Yeah.
6'8" when I was, because I played a ton of basketball growing up.
Travis, I prayed.
Like, 6'7", please, God.
I stretched
at
my.
Least.
I literally did like that hanging stuff to try to stretch yourself out
weight,
to grow.
Like the head weight.
Every possible way you can imagine. So we didn't get there. Played college basketball, Western Illinois, and got the opportunity to play overseas. And that sounds cool to say you play overseas, but it's more like the Will Ferrell semi-pro that I was playing in. And
Did you ever watch? Did you ever see the show New Girl?
No, I know what you're talking about, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, there was a guy in there that played overseas, and there's a whole bit in there about it, but we'll have to like link to it in the show notes or something, because if I explained it, it would not be near as funny, and it would just fall on deaf ears.
Of how unglamorous it is.
Correct.
Yeah.
I was the ninth guy off the bench for the 8th best team in Latvia. Winning the best. Thanks for coming to watch me play, guys.
Well, we didn't watch you play. We watched you sit, which was still fun. Any chance to get to Latvia, right, guys?
Yeah, I haven't played all year. They barely let me practice. But, like I always say, all about them lots.
So I was in Australia, and then Greece, and then Spain for my third year. And mind you, I still think I'm going to play in the NBA. I'm the guy over here doing 2-a-days, film study, and the rest of my teammates are just concerned about drinking beers at halftime and where the party is going to be at after the game.
Sure.
They've got other jobs, but I'm that committed. Just kind of been in my blood through wanting to play in the NBA.
Do they pay you enough, like a living wage to?
Oh, not even close. Okay. I think I was like 500 every 2 weeks, maybe like 1,000 a month.
It's like playing the minor leagues in like baseball. Out here,
yeah, probably. I was probably spending more money buying baguettes and tapas over in Spain. And I was in northern Spain, it's not even Spain. It's the Basque region. They don't even speak Spanish. It's like when you think Spain, you're like, oh yeah, sunshine beaches. No, cold, rainy mountains like Seattle.
This isn't Ibiza, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Ibiza.
Ibiza. That's when you know you're Spanish. Barcelona. So I get cut from the team. Like this joke of a league, I get cut from the team. And I thought like all my hopes and goals and dreams were gone. I mean, looking back on it, it's an unbelievable blessing that I got cut at 24, 25 instead of continuing to play for $100 a month and end up in Lithuania when I'm 36 and have nothing going for me.
Right.
But I come home, I'm living on my parents' recliner chair in Kansas City where they're living at the time, and just literally feeling bad for myself. Like I thought everything was gone. It's what I put my whole life into. I didn't have a backup plan.
Right.
Nobody told me in college, like, hey, like maybe you should think about something other than the NBA because you're probably not going to make it.
What did you study in college?
Communications.
So basketball.
Yeah, pretty much. Business. I got my MBA actually, which
no way.
Yeah, but I mean, sorry, Western Illinois, if anybody's listening to this from Western Illinois, but it's not quite Harvard Business School. I can't tell you one thing I learned in business school, but I got the paper somewhere. Never used it in my life. So my mom, this is the big turning point for me, was my mom would always say these motivational and inspirational quotes. You know how moms are, and it's always like, Mom, whatever, I'm not going to pay attention to that. It's, whatever you say is in one ear, out the other ear.
Yeah.
But she said,
you don't understand.
Yeah. Right. You still don't understand. Parents don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Even though they do know, and it always comes back to, you're like, oh, wow, you did know. But she said this one that stuck with me when she was doing dishes. I was kicked back in the chair. I can remember exactly where I was at. She said, David, when one door closes, 4 open in an entire beachfront patio overlooking the ocean. I was like, time out. I thought it was one door. What's this 4-door thing? But it kind of opened me up to this new mindset of like, oh, well, maybe it's not over. Maybe I don't have to wait for the door to open. Maybe there's other opportunities that I can use through what I learned, through what I poured my life into through basketball. It's like, all right, I'm going to coach in the NBA. And that's when I made the decision right then and there that I was going to be an NBA coach. Now, didn't have any connections in the NBA, which you kind of need. So I hand wrote a letter to every NBA GM. All the GMs, didn't hear anything back for a month and a half. Then I get a phone call from the GM at the time of the Los Angeles Clippers, Gary Sachs. And it's just a quick conversation, and he was just being kind, getting back to me. And it's basically like, good luck with the rest of your life. He said, if you're ever out in Los Angeles, look me up, we'll grab coffee. So I booked a ticket to Los Angeles the next week and took that as an opportunity, stole some of my parents' money, stole all of my money. I was going to be out there doing a basketball camp.
Funny you should mention. I'll be out there.
Ironic.
On whatever day works best for you.
Haven't been to LA in like 8 years, but I'll be there next week. Right. So I prepared and I went out there and we hit it off. And that eventually led to me and Gary developing a great relationship. I actually lived with Gary when I moved out to Los Angeles. Oh, no way. Every connection stemmed from Gary Sachs to the NBA, to Eric Spoelstra, different coaches. And
what year was this when you moved out or when you came out?
Well, when I came out to move in with Gary, it was a little bit later. It was actually after I coached with the Nets. So I basically lived for 5 years out of my car or sleeping on friends' couches. Sometimes friends like I literally had never met before. Like I've got crazy stories on probably potential times I should have been dead on random strangers' couches, but I still slept in it. Or I slept in my my car in well-lit Walmart parking lots was my go-to. 5 years of doing basketball camps that I created with these shooting basketball with a line down the center so you could see the rotation. And I do camps for anybody and their cousin that would take me in. Melbourne, Australia, I wake up to an email that says Brooklyn Nets shooting coach. Thought it was spam. Didn't know anybody from the Brooklyn Nets. Was curious. Clicked it. The next week, I'm a shooting coach for the Brooklyn Nets.
Wow.
But maybe we can go into like how they thought that was it. Thought I was in.
Yeah.
Fired.
Really?
After 1 year in.
1 year.
Fired. Then I moved out to with Gary.
Got it. So what year was that then? Because you said the Brooklyn Nets. So
2015, 16.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And I set the foundation for what the Nets are. I don't know if I want to say that because they're not really doing that well.
Yeah. That's true. At this point.
Yeah. At this point.
I mean, that's not really your fault.
Yeah. Can't blame it on the shooting coach. Come on.
Okay. So what was the roller coaster like in that perspective? Like getting a call, you're doing all these basketball camps, driving yourself crazy, and you're like on this high. I'm in. Oh. This is my career. And then they're just like, hey, no, like we're good actually.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was like, so at the time, that was probably the worst culture in the NBA. And I got to see behind the scenes of what NBA culture is actually like.
Yeah.
And
because you don't really get that as a fan.
No, you don't. Yeah. Most fans have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. And I can tell you which teams actually have great cultures and the majority of teams which have terrible cultures, all centered around a 3-letter word called ego, which is a real thing.
Yeah.
Not just with players, but with coaches, with trainers, with equipment managers. It's crazy. Anyways, I loved it. Yeah. I loved it because I never.
That's what happens in like these high status fields, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, even if you're an equipment manager, it's still like, yeah, but I'm an equipment manager in the NBA.
Oh, so, dude, the trainer that we had would try to control games. He'd hold people out to act like he was having an impact on the games, the wins and losses.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I'm just this young 28-year-old kid. I'm so excited to be there and working with players. And we just, by the grace of God, go from 28th in 3-point percentage to second. Like, was not me, but it just happened. Yeah. I was getting all this New York media and stuff. It's like hot, up and coming young coach. And GM's telling me 3-year deal will lock you in.
Yeah.
Then a new head coach comes on at the end of the year, and I'm fired. I'm out. Wow. Door shut. But I lean back on what Socrates, my mom, the philosopher, said: when one door closes, 4 open.
Yeah.
Entire beachfront patio. Came out to LA and started training NBA players, working with some of the top NBA players on court, mindset.
Like you were doing that with somebody, or you were doing that kind of separately?
Yeah, kind of separately. I developed a lot of relationships throughout the NBA and with agents, and Casey Wasserman brought me on to train all his top all-star players.
Gotcha. A little bit easier to land something like that after you have the line item on your resume of working with the Brooklyn Nets and taking shooting percentage from this to this and whatever.
Totally, man. I could charge more for camps. It was like literally the best addition bonus to everything that I was doing. And it's funny because everything in my life, and I'm sure you can attest to this too, it's all relationships. It's literally all relationships.
Yeah.
I've never been hired off a resume. I don't even know if I've ever had I don't think I've ever had like a legit job interview.
Yeah.
It's just all relationships.
It's crazy, dude.
Crazy.
I read a stat one time. It was like, fact check me if you're listening or watching this. I think it was about 78% of jobs are gotten through connections.
Yeah.
78%.
I would think more.
And it blows my mind because of the teeny tiny segment of people that actually make a concerted effort to go create relationships in areas, in fields that they want to have a successful career in. It's like, just sitting on your computer and submitting a bunch of job applications is like the worst way to go get hired somewhere.
Yeah.
And, sure, this is coming from a guy that's never done that, but maybe point proven, I guess. But yeah, it's almost 4/5 of all jobs are gotten through connections.
And honestly, the formula is really easy. It's literally really easy. You can reach out to anybody nowadays. You know how many DMs I've sent?
Well, I was going to say, you did it pre-DMs. Like you wrote physical letters.
I was going old
them.
school. Right.
And you got it. Like, the craziest thing about that story is you got a reply. Like when you said, like, I was waiting for 6 weeks for a reply, I was like, man, I'm surprised. First of all, anybody got back to you, but I'm surprised, second of all, that it was only 6 weeks. It's like, that's crazy. And you just hand wrote letters and sent it. Like, people are more, the lesson I think there is, like, people are more accessible than you think they are.
Totally. It's the cheat code of cheat codes. Everybody checks their DMs. Even if they say they don't run their Instagram, they do. Right. I've reached out to I've set up massive events with really cool people that I wanted to meet just by sending DMs and saying somebody else was going to be there. And then they all wanted to come. Yeah. But you can reach anybody you want, and you can learn from anyone you want. Yeah. Like if you want to be a speaker, you should watch videos on the top speakers, see how they get gigs, watch them, study them. Like it's fascinating to me how people it's like, well, I don't know what to do. Well, there's so much free content out there. Right. Podcasts, YouTube, study, literally study, become an expert. I think Rachel Hollis, I think that's literally what she did to become who she is. Yep. It's easy.
I mean, anybody that I've talked to on the show has been some combination of that. Yeah. I don't there's not somebody that comes to my mind. I'm sure it's happened over the hundreds of interviews we've done, but there's nobody that's come to mind right now that was like just spoon-fed most of the things that they got. No. Or had a specific plan that worked exactly the way that they said it was going to work when they were coming into it. It's like the whole well, I don't know what to do thing is like, well, welcome to trying to be successful. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't know what to do and you're not willing to figure it out, then go live a mediocre life, and fine if that's what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't ever try to superimpose my beliefs, my values, my goals, my dreams on anybody else. But if you do have the same goals and the same dreams and the same, and you're not willing to put in the effort, then good luck. You're just going to wait to hit the lottery at some point. What's the alternative? You're going to have to do something at some point.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
The phone is never just going to ring. It's just not going to happen. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm really passionate about this because I get a lot of questions on this. Oh, how did you do it? Oh, can I pick your brain? So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to get $1 million right here. This is $1 million formula. This is it. Decide what you want to do. Decide what lane you want to go in. Something that you're talented in, something that you have skills in, something that you're passionate in, something that you'll work hard in. Okay, it doesn't have to be the end all be all, but decide what that is. Decide what value you're going to bring to others. Decide what can be the give that you're going to serve others, because that's going to take you a massively long way. Yep. Okay. Study the top people in the field that you want to be in. Study everything about them. Take notes, study it, watch it just relentlessly. Okay. Consistency. That is the term, the word, everything that every successful person has. Consistency over time. It's the most boring thing. It's for diets. It's for consistency over time. And if you rep it out 10 years, 8 years, maybe 5 years, you will absolutely get there. So pick what you want to do in a talent and skill. Study somebody that's doing it. Reach out to people that you can give to and know that it's going to take time, and you're going to get knocked down. Yeah. And if you have the don't give upness ability, there it is. That's you can make millions of dollars, whatever you want to do. Boom.
100%, dude. 100%. It's the way that Ed Mylett says it, that I always like. He's like, is your will to win for sale? Because if it is, then at some point, somebody's going to be willing to pay that price. And you're going to find yourself beating yourself up, not achieving the potential that you have, because something was able to deter you from the past. Something was able to prevent you from being consistent. Like something happened.
Yeah.
You know, an external circumstance that you allowed to have control over you rather than having control over it. You know what I mean? There's something that happened that deterred you from it. And ultimately, exactly what you said, that's the name of the game. It's consistency over a long period of time, and then giving yourself those advantages of learning from people who've already done it.
Yeah.
Like that. That one thing has quite literally changed my life. Just go get around people who've done what you want to do.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
It's literally so easy, but I also love it because most people want it quick, especially in this day and age. They want it to happen now. So I know personally, I'll always be successful because I'm willing to play the long game.
Totally.
When most people will not.
Absolutely, dude. So, okay. So you were, you come out to LA and you start working with people kind of more one-on-one basis and things like that. Where along the path did you decide, you know, to get into content and writing books and those types of things?
Yep. So I remember it vividly. I was on the Santa Monica court, and it was summer, working out NBA players. I had like 27, 28, like stud NBA players, all-stars, millions of dollars on the court. So all the Wasserman players. And I just been going like the whole week from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. because everybody comes out to LA in the off season.
And are you doing mostly shooting?
I'm doing shooting. I'm doing ball, like every skill development. It's me on court. It's every single workout, and it is wearing. Yeah, wearing. So I pass out because I'm just physically exhausted. I remember passing out on court. And when I finally came back and everything, I was just sitting there like, wow, do I really love doing this? Because every morning when I woke up, I was like, I don't feel excited about coming to the gym.
Sure.
Now I love being around the people, I love the relationships, but I wasn't excited about teaching a jumper again, saying hold your follow through for the 49 billionth time, or teaching to step back. But what I did love was the moments when I got to encourage them, when I got to see them actually come to life, of excitement of seeing them improve, or just seeing them, get excited about something else in their life that I was speaking life into them. And I was like, whoa, I love this.
Yeah.
Like there's something to this.
It's like basketball became the vehicle to see like self-development happen.
Yeah. And I developed a relationship with an amazing friend of mine, John Gordon. He was like
John on the show a while back.
Yeah. He's great. He's awesome. Super giver, just super talented author, speaker.
Yeah.
And I kind of just watched him. I was like, man, I could speak. And he started pouring into me. And I was like, I could write books with all these stories that I have, with points, with learning concepts to them. And so I just started writing, and eventually Pivot and Go, the first book, kind of came to life after like 92 different chapters got merged into 29. And I was like, hey, if I can speak to these NBA players, these corporations, and like they're high level performers, same type of mindset, same type of tools. And a wild story for how I got my first talk was literally through just reaching out, just taking shots. I had a friend at Nestle Australia. And I was like, hey, who books your speakers? And he's like, well, I'll give you the email. And then I got in touch with that person. They connected me to another person. And finally I get on a conversation with the person who is one below the person who books the speakers. And they're like, okay, well, send over your speaking reel. What the heck's a speaking reel? I don't know what a speaking reel is. So my wife's an actor. We got her acting coach. We rented out this little small church, and we brought in some friends, and he videoed it with me having different outfits, saying different points. And so it looked like I'd given like multiple keynotes, and the place was packed, and we send it in, and I get on a conversation with, on a phone call with the booker, and like, yeah, all right, we want to do it. Let's do it. What's your fee? And I just said a number that came to my mind. He's like, yeah, that's good. I was like, dang, I should have said a lot more.
Damn it.
So that's how I got like my first talk. Most people are like, oh, I got to do so many free.
Was this post book launch?
This was prior to the book launch. Yeah, just barely prior. I think it was like a few months before the book came out.
Yeah.
But my first talk was on like a massive stage.
Did you give them like a presentation, or did you have to tell them what you were going to talk about? Or
Yeah. So it's basically a lot of stuff that was written in the book, kind of like exactly those type of chapters. And I remember like I didn't know how to give a talk or what to prepare for, and I was talking to another friend is like, if you think you're going to practice that thing like 3 or 4 times, you're going to fall flat on your face. Yeah. So I tallied every single time that I did it. I did it 163 times before I got up there.
Wow.
Yeah. And like, I kid you not, I got up there nervous as could be. It was like, God, just take these nerves, take them to higher heights. And it felt like 5 minutes and the hour was up. Boom. They loved it. Game over. It's like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. That reminds me because we were talking a little bit about this earlier. Grew up super religious and things. And I was always doing like preaching camps and preaching things all the time. And I remember coming into the business world and starting to give a couple of talks, and then people would ask me about it at the end. It was just like when I would talk to other people about their speaking, it was just so clear how little that they prepared for it. And then they get so nervous. They're the people that like depend on the slides. There's a tech glitch, and then the tech glitch happens, and then they're like paralyzed. They don't know what to say next because their slide isn't coming up. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just awkward for everybody. And then they get done. It's like, oh, it would have gone better, but the tech, and it's like, well, no, it just means you're not a speaker.
Yeah.
And there's not anything wrong with that, but like, don't pretend that you're just this amazing speaker when you're not willing to put in the work to do it. Again, going back to look what other people have done, and then go do what they've done. And then for me, especially when it comes to public speaking, for me, over preparation was always the key to calming nerves in any situation. Now is like, I apply that. If I ever feel myself being really nervous about something, it's just over preparing for it.
Yeah.
To your point, like 163 times to do that. Dude. That's a lot of practice to go into it. But by the time you got up there, like, you have nerves for the first few minutes, but then if you practice something that often, your reflexes just take over. Your mind takes over. You don't have to be up there thinking about what you're going to say next. You just say it because you did it 163 times leading up to it.
Preparation, just like consistency, preparation is the key to confidence. Not only do you develop more myelin and muscle memory through preparing, but you also develop more confidence because you've prepared. Right. And when you've done that so many times, you can go up there and where, like, okay, well, if I stumble, like, I know where I'm going to go. Right. Because I've done it this many times, and then it allows you to be free. Yeah, totally. It's just like the whole thing of like, people think discipline and preparation are words that are like, I don't want to be disciplined and preparation, but they equal freedom. Like, when you're disciplined, when you prepare, then you can be free in what you want to do. Yeah, right. And one of the biggest things that I've ever been told, and always have to tell myself before I go up to talk or in any kind of room, like, who can I impact? If you literally think, like, pick out one person. Is there one person that you can focus on? Is there one person that you can change? I know it sounds cliche, but when you take it away from, well, what does my performance look like? Yeah. Compared to, is actually, like, am I reaching these people? Like, are they actually hearing my message? Not just my words, but hearing my message? Then it takes a lot of pressure off you too.
What would be, if somebody's listening and they're like, yeah, that sounds like exactly what I want to do, where would you suggest that they start? Because like, here's the reason that I asked this, to preface it, is you talk to some people and it's like, oh, I want to be a motivational speaker. And it's like, okay, well, what about you is motivating? Yeah. And it's like, well, I just want to be a speaker. It's like, well, like, it's really impressive that you were able to get your first ever speaking gig to be for Nestle Corporation and to get an actual paycheck for your first ever speaking gig and things like that. Yeah. But like, you weren't just some dude that was like, hey, pay me to speak to your organization. It was like, they looked at what you've done and like, oh, you worked with that person, that person, that person, that person. And you learned like all of these different traits that help the most world-class athletes in the world be better. Like, you could probably share something with our executives that makes them be a little bit better. You had a practical side to what you had done because you had actual proof with real people that what you were going to talk about positively impacted people's lives.
Such a good point. And I mean, I'd been speaking at basketball camps, coaching clinics. I mean, everything under the sun. Like, I had been speaking, so it was like a first thing I'd done. But to your point, if you want to get into that, the secret sauce to this is do something, spend years and years doing something, building something, whether it's a company or whatever it is, an expertise, so that, one, I mean, you're going to be successful at that. You can probably make some good money off doing that, but then you can speak afterwards. and then you can consult afterwards.
Right.
The thing that I'm so glad that I did is that I poured so many years into coaching individual players and optimization for players and coaching in the NBA, because now I can go consult on it. Right. Now I can speak on it. If I try to go and just say, hey, I want to be a speaker, like, nobody's listening to you.
Right.
You have to do something first to become a speaker. And that's why, like, especially in this day and age too, when you see people on social media that's a 25-year-old life coach, the hell are you done?
My favorite.
Well, yeah. What are you doing? Or like, you want to just be you have to have
been married for a year and they're a relationship coach.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, I'm not telling anybody how to raise their kids because I haven't had kids. I mean, I have some theories behind it, but I haven't really been through the trenches of it. Right. But it's I mean, people see speaking and they see it and they're like, oh, he's up there speaking. You don't know the half of it, how tough it is to prepare and how much time that it takes. And like, it is not, you see it and you want to do it and people think they can do it. Like, it's a competitive field and you have to have your differentiators.
Yeah. It's like, I want to be like the Ed Milet's of the world. It's like, yeah, well, like maybe like build a $500 million net worth before you're like 40 or whatever he did, you know, like
go study these people's stories. Right. Go study all these people's stories and you'll see how many years and years it took them to get to where they're at.
Right. Exactly. It's never as fast as you thought it was going to be.
No, ever.
And if it is, those aren't the duplicatable ones. Like, you can't take the fringe and be like, that's the path for me. Right? Look at someone like a Jay Shetty, you know, because like he blew up like crazy, you know, like pretty quickly, and because he just went viral that fast. Yeah, you know, you see people like that, and then people will look at that and go like, yeah, but that person didn't. It's like, well, also he still had some, like, a resume leading up to that made his story really unique and interesting, right? Like, you, like, growing up and going to your community college and then sleeping on your mom's couch for the last 3 years is not as interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you're romanticizing what you've done with what, you know, somebody like that has done. Yeah. But also even in that case, it's just like, you can't base what you want to do off of the fringe of success. You know, like, you have to look at the majority of people and go like, oh, like 98% of really successful speakers have done something incredible in their life. They've done something that makes them more interesting. Like, we get, you know, one of my businesses is an agency where we get people booked on podcasts. And I don't know if I had $1 for every time somebody was like, can you get me on Joe Rogan? You know, I would be a rich man, you know? And it's like you're completely overestimating what you like, and I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's just like, it's less like, you have to understand the just sheer demand that someone like Joe has for his show. Yeah. He can pick anybody in the world to bring on. Yeah. Like, you having a marketing agency, turns out, is not that interesting. You know what I mean? He's bringing on people that are like changing the way that we view the world. He's bringing on like AI engineers and, you know, billionaires and, you know, even his comedian friends. It's like, they're still doing something really unique and interesting. They travel the country and tell jokes for a living. Like, they always have good stories. They're interesting. They're entertaining. You know what I mean? There's something about, like, if you want to be interviewed more, if you want to get booked to speak more, if you want more book deals, if you want all these different things coming your way, then it's like, maybe focus on something that doesn't have to do with just writing a book or just speaking on a stage. Like,
so good.
Throw in some other unique, interesting spins into like what makes you kind of this eclectic, interesting person to talk to. You know what I mean? And you might find that those opportunities will come your way a little bit more frequently.
That's spot on. And you hit a point in there, storytelling. If someone wants to be a speaker or you want to do anything in personal branding, you have got to be a good storyteller. And I was a kid in high school. Like, I'd start telling a story and I wouldn't really know where to go with it. And I could tell people were like getting lost and wouldn't even pay attention. So I made it a point that I was going to study storytelling and I was going to be a phenomenal storyteller, because that's the way people learn, is through stories. So if you want to be a speaker, learn how to storytell and figure out something that you can do that can be really, really cool. And that has impact to it too. And then you're going to be getting booked on podcasts. You know how Joe does it? You know how Rogan does it? He DMs people. Lugavere got a DM from Rogan. Hey, I'm on it. Boom.
Oh, really?
That's how he does it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You're not reaching out to Joe and getting on his podcast. This ain't happening.
Yeah. You're not. Yeah. And definitely not you in particular, you know, because like they'll accept pitches and stuff, but they're very, very particular because they can be. And that's how it's always going to be with people like that. Anytime where there's that much demand for something.
Totally.
It's like you have to look at the supply and go like, oh, like there's like 25,000 people that want to be on this show every month, and he brings on like 12 or like whatever, 20, however many he brings on. Like maybe I should, go back to the drawing board a little bit and, look at somebody like a Colin O'Brady who like trekked Antarctica or like completed the Explorers 8, whatever it is, like the 6 highest peaks and then North and South Pole or whatever.
It's
he
crazy.
Like rode across the tip of South Africa all the way down to Antarctica or something in record time. Like you look at people like that and it's like, oh, he's on Joe Rogan. It's like, yeah, because that's interesting as hell. You know what I mean? Like he's done stuff. If you look at Goggins or any of these people, it's just like, try doing some other things besides only pitching people all the time on bringing you on, what I mean? Like that path is just such a more difficult path if you would just focus on doing something first.
And I think it's important. You got to do it like something that actually has purpose to it is so important too. Yeah. Have purpose for others, because if you're just doing it, trying to grow a brand or so, you're going to drive yourself nuts.
Sure.
You're going to drive yourself miserable because you'll never be exactly where you want to be.
It's a thirst for status.
Totally. And it's a thing that I always remind myself of too. Like in the big picture, in the grand scheme of things, like God's up there probably looking down at me like, David, you know what? It's cute, all this stuff that you're trying to grow. It's cute that you think you're having a big impact, but you know what are you really doing it for? It's a reminder of what I'm really doing it for. And then it's also like a weight off my shoulders of like, people don't know who I am.
Yeah, that's a good
People
point.
don't like, even when I go to like, Ed Milet's a good friend, but if you go to most places in different areas, like they don't know who Ed is. Right. And it's just a thing like majority of people will not, unless you're Justin Bieber, majority of the world has no clue who you are. And even think about it, in 100 years from now, no one's going to know your name.
Yep.
No one. Like think about people that you know 100 years ago. It's probably presidents.
Right.
You probably don't even know your great grandparents' names. I don't.
Yeah. Heads of state.
Yeah. Maybe on like 5 people that you can probably count 100 years from now.
Right.
So you can either look at that as really a downer, or just it's a freedom. Like you don't have to don't stress it. Like know that God's got the plan for you, and you just enjoy it.
Yeah. And to your point, go do things that matter to you and that are important to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point to bring up. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's talk about writing specifically. So the first book was just kind of like, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you were just like, I want to get into this. Let me just start practicing the skill of writing. Totally. And then it turned into this big collection of things that you were able to whittle down into something that actually made sense as a book.
Yep.
Was the second one a little bit more like purposeful around a certain topic or title, and then you kind of went deep on it?
100%. So the first one was, all right, I'm just going to get all my stories out there. Yeah. And with every story that I have, I'm going to have a point to it. Like, what is the reason for the story? What's the takeaway from this story? With a tool to it. I'm really big on giving like, okay, actionable things instead of just telling stories so people can actually go and apply it. So my process, I got on the walking treadmill and I put my laptop on there for an hour a day. And I just wrote, whether it was 2 pages of great writing or 2 words, which usually was more towards the 2 words, I would just write. And it became just like a workout. That was my consistency, and I would write. And I got paired up with a great flow editor this is like a small time publisher, but the flow editor was awesome. And she helped me kind of weave the stories together and put it together. And then we continued to work on the next book. So John Gordon, talking about relationships, the only reason I get a 3-book deal with one of the top publishers there is, Wiley, is because John Gordon. We were sitting in a Miami Heat game watching our friend Eric Spoelstra coach, and John's like, hey, why haven't you talked to my publisher? It's like, well, you haven't introduced me. Like, okay, well, we'll get on a call with him tomorrow. We'll get you a 3-book deal. There it was. That happened. That's the power of relationships. The amazing guy that he is. So the second book was, it's very like, okay, we want this one to be more business approach. We want this is the breakthrough formula, taking from years of training NBA players and working with coaches to like, what is the formula that actually leads to people having regular occurring breakthroughs and not just little happy accidents that happen. So that was more of a structured approach.
Regular recurring breakthroughs.
Yeah, because breakthroughs, like people always are like, I want that breakthrough. I'm going to get a breakthrough. What's a breakthrough?
Yeah, they look at it as like super lucky.
Yeah,
they don't have much influence over it.
It's an abstract term, right? It's just by happen chance. But there's a formula that the most successful people do on a daily basis, consistency, that actually lead to breakthroughs. So that book was more of a structured, but same type of way, like an hour a day, boom, boom, boom. And now this third book that I've just turned in that's coming out in April of 23, which is a whole different style. Like those two first books had some of my stories in them, but now this one has zero of my stories in them. And this is all, so this next one, as an author, you get more excited about the next book, always the next book. But this one's awesome. And I'm not like, I think it's awesome. And I also have to give a lot of credit to my wife, who knows the English language better than anybody I've ever been around. Like I'll write and I write like I talk. And then she'll go through it. She'll be like, you cannot say, there's like 13 negatives in the same sentence. Like that doesn't work. So she cleans everything up for me, which is amazing.
She's the first edit.
She's the first edit. She's the last edit. She's the creative brain behind majority of things that I do.
That's awesome.
She's an actor and producer and super creative. So like, I'd be lying if I said a lot of the ideas were mine, because they're not. Like I'll go out there and talk and I'll write and I'll do it, but a lot of the ideas come from her. But anyways, it's all on taking action. So I've done studies, surveys for a long time on the main reasons people don't take action.
Yeah.
And there's 9 main areas. It's like, I'll give you some examples: fear of other people's opinion, scarcity mindset, blaming the past, different ones like that of like, okay, well, this is why I'm held back from taking action. So I want people to be able to read it and see what's holding them back. Like, why is it? Like,
what stories am I telling myself?
Yeah, what stories? But like, am I not taking action because I'm actually afraid what other people think? Or is it, hey, I got burnt by the past, so I don't want to try it again? And so you're able to resonate with a certain type of archetype.
Yeah.
And then I found these stories from people in history of crazy people that just changed the world, that a lot of people don't know their names, but they had that crux when they had the decision to, well, should I not take action because this is what's holding me back? Or do I take the risk? And I show it like how they took the risk and changed the world by doing so, basically to empower people like you can do it too, and giving them tools at the end of it. But anyways, the writing process always starts with me just throwing slop out there. Like it's never like it's
the brainstorm
I think,
phase.
who was it? Greg McKeown, I might be pronouncing his name wrong. Essentialism, amazing book.
Okay, yeah.
He talks about how he writes a zero draft, and I loved that. Like it's not even the first
Zero
draft.
draft.
It's a zero draft. Just throw stuff out there, and then you can kind of merge it together. So it's always like it's like the clay pot where you're on the thing in art class, and you're just molding the clay with your hands, and it over time it just becomes more and more finite to what it's going to be.
Shape,
yeah.
What when you start writing, is there a way that you decide which concept is going to be able to stick around, or like I guess I'm asking, like, do you have like a system to test the initial phase out with, or is it just kind of a gut feeling?
Are you talking about like the overall concept of it?
Right. Like if you're just going to start writing, like, are you headed in a direction when you're writing, or is it literally
just... So I've got a list of about 10 books that I want to write.
Got it.
And they're all based on like what people are saying, or what I'm getting feedback on when I'm speaking, or what like points that I know people need. And I'll send out different types of surveys to kind of test it and feel it if something that people would like, to my email list or people that I know. But there's always a direction to it. I mean, it's gonna like new things come up throughout it where I'm like, oh yeah, like I got to add that. And I'm always looking and learning and listening to different things that might help enhance it. But, and always trying to do something in a different way too. This book has a little bit of what you would call historical fiction mixed in with it too, that kind of hasn't been done in this type of whatever you want to self-help space, which self-help's the worst term you can actually use.
I hate it. Self-help for people who hate self-help.
We need a new term for that.
I know, right?
No one can self-help themselves. You need others to help them.
Right.
Let's think of a new term.
The continued education space.
That's
it's like,
good.
It's for people who desire to continue improving themselves. Is all.
Yeah. What was the Ben Stiller one? What was his school that he created in that movie? You know what I'm talking?
Yeah.
For people who want, for people who want to learn more and think better and read, like.
Without much further ado, I give you the Derek Zoolander Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good.
That's what it needs to be
something really
called.
clunky.
Yeah. You almost said it there. You were saying like the continued learning space for people who want to learn and grow.
Yeah. That's the new self-help. Yeah, that's the category in Barnes & Noble now.
Yeah. 35 words.
Business model behind books. Why write a book, and are you going to get rich off of royalties?
Someday, rich off royalties? Yeah,
That would be
because
the
they're going to
goal.
sell millions.
Yeah.
That's not the. That is
That's
not
like
the
reserved
starting.
for John Grisham. And
Yeah.
Mark Manson and
Right. Right. But that's not the starting point of it. The starting point of it is the way to reach the most people is TV, media, that kind of medium. And that's most people, well, that or music. Those are the two most impactful things there are. People watch more TV or listen to music. Okay, right now, I'm not a great singer. Okay, we might work on that. TV might be down the line sometime. But books is a way that will, it doesn't leave.
Yeah.
Shows can leave. Shows can be hot for a minute,
Yeah.
but then they're gone.
Yeah.
But books are always around. Books can reach people throughout the world for like
Decades.
years and years and years. So that was the main thing. I can't remember who said, I think it was Mark Batterson who said that. It's like, I can go talk and it can reach people in that room, but I can write books and it can reach people all over the world for decades and decades. So that was behind writing the book. Now I'm so competitive with myself that one of the books is going to take off.
Yeah.
These books have done well, but nowhere near where I want them to be.
Sure.
And one of them is going to take off. I don't know which one it's going to be.
Right.
God will open that door, but I'm going to keep banging on that door.
Yeah, sure. In terms of what it does for like speaking gigs and stuff like that too, though, it's got to help, I assume.
Yeah.
Open doors for you, get you on stages.
Yeah, I mean, I know it does. It's kind of like a working resume that you have, but it's more so like when you book a speaking gig and, oh, they're also going to buy 200 books.
Sure.
Boom.
Yeah.
Add that upsell.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Any companies that want to book a speaker, there you go.
Yeah, David at David
I'm
Nurse.
open.
Yeah. I was gonna. Mediums, content mediums. What do you enjoy? Like, you're writing, you're doing podcasts, you're doing video content.
Yeah.
You speak a lot. You're talking about potentially, film and things like that in the future, or TV in the future. What are the things that you enjoy consuming, and what are the things you enjoy creating?
Totally great. So I enjoy consuming podcasts and I enjoy creating podcasts. I love consuming podcasts. My go-to is in workouts. That's kind of my time to learn. And I'll have a faith podcast, some kind of sermon. I'll have a book that I'm listening to, all audiobook, never read any books. Yeah. And then I'll have some kind of whatever interest I'm into, whether it's investing or it's fitness or something. So I kind of hit 3 different podcasts on 1.5 speed during that time.
What are some of your favorites?
The Travis Chappell show, Making Friends,
yes.
for sure. My podcast, the David Nerd. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, I've always loved Ben Greenfield. Ben's been a friend, and I think he's so good in the health and wellness space. Ed Milet is just great. His podcasts are awesome. John Gordon's are great as well. Let's see. I mean, I think Alex Hormozy, because everybody's on him, loves his stuff, but it's good. He's the
new kid on the block.
Yeah, it's just real, and it's just to the point, and I think it's
to what we were talking
refreshing.
about earlier, he actually has done stuff.
Yeah,
You're so much more eager to listen to somebody when you're like, wait, you're how old, and you sold your company for how much, and you profited how much before you sold it.
Yeah,
all right,
right.
But you probably have a thing or two to share.
Yeah, and even just as cut and dry, he's just like, well, look, here's how you do it. Bang, 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 and he'll give it to you. But but then are you going to actually take it and do it?
It's very rare to have somebody who's that good at executing and that good at explaining how to execute. It's like that combination's
that's why
a lot of times you have like the operators and the builders,
but
they don't know how to like disseminate information because it's so second nature to them. Like they don't know how to tell you to do it because they're just like, I don't know, you just do it. You just fucking do it.
That's how most NBA superstars are. That's why they're not great coaches because they just have been that gifted.
Right.
But that's a rarity. Andrew Huberman's a good friend, and it's funny his story with the podcast. So I was with him at Air One, and Max Lugavera, a friend, we were talking about before he started the podcast. And I remember him telling us like, hey, I'm going to do this podcast. And I'm over here, like I had a podcast. I'm like, and I give him the whole spiel that I give everybody, like, hey, you got to be really committed to it. You got to do it because you love it. Like, don't expect it to get, and he's probably there thinking like this dumb dude. And he blows it up. But his another rarity of being so crazy smart, but able to give it to the masses, able to simplify it. Like that's an incredible gift.
Massive, huh? It's taken off. Blown up.
I take all credit for that inspiration. Thank you, Andrew.
Oh man. And then so that's what you like consuming. What do you like creating?
I love creating podcasts. I love the interviews. I love getting to know people. Nah.
No, like
writing and speaking are number one for sure. I'd probably say speaking. I mean, it's a 1A. It's a 1A.
Yeah.
No 1Bs.
For writing and speaking.
Yeah, those together. And podcasts for the relationships and just the people that I bring on, I love learning from. Yeah. So crazy how many people have great stories.
It's crazy, man.
Like there's even if you're talking about Rogan, like the dude does one a day and it's with someone I've never heard of who has a phenomenal, mind-blowing story. This world is nuts. There's so many talented, gifted people in this world.
And it's so crazy because people can exist outside of your existing kind of echo chamber. Like, you think you know so many people, and you do. And then you go like one step over, and it's like, I don't know who any of those people are.
Yeah.
Like even because I've been, we're doing 4 or 5 interviews over the, today and tomorrow, and everybody I talk to is like, oh, who else are you interviewing? And every person I've talked to so far, when I've said other people I'm interviewing, none of them have known each other. And it's like, but you are all really big, doing amazing things in your space. Yeah. But then it's like you go one step outside of it, and it's like, who, what? You know what I mean? It's like it's crazy.
It's so funny.
How many awesome people are out there?
And then if you ever want to humble yourself, look up the top cricket players in India and see how many followers they have. You probably don't even know what cricket is or ever have thought about it, but look that up and then think of if you have a lot of followers.
Man. That's a really good insight.
A couple weeks ago.
You did it. Yeah. And then
I was like, wow, I'm just
fell into depression for a few days.
Yeah. Wish I played cricket.
Oh man. So what's next, dude? What are some of some big goals, some aspirations?
Man, I've always got a lot of things that I don't even say juggling. I work better when I have a lot of things that I'm growing and I'm slowly pouring a little bit into each one.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a big movement for the youth, kind of like, remember Dare with it? Yeah. They did a great job getting into high schools and middle schools, but it wasn't really cool.
Yeah.
And they did it for drugs, obviously. I'm going to do it for mental health awareness, and I'm pulling together some big names to a big movement for the youth to help speak to them. Let's see.
I remember Dare being kind of the lame thing.
Yeah.
In other people, like I was like the good Christian kid, right? So I didn't like that never made its way into schools in our school, but I remember like that was the kind of wide perception of it at the time.
Yeah, and I mean they did a great job getting into school. Somehow they figured that out, but no one wanted to listen to a cop and a goofy dog and a mascot come tell you about doing drugs. So I'm going to make it a cool way to help fight mental health. The next book. I'm sure me and Taylor have some crazy cool trip. Oh yeah, we got Hawaii coming up. We just came back from Italy.
Oh, nice.
Time with Taylor is the best. I don't know. There's probably like 16 other things going on there, and I can't remember right now, but we'll let you know when we do.
So, dude, this show's called Travis Makes Friends, and the way that it came about was that we did 800 episodes of Build Your Network. And basically, one of the biggest things that I took away from doing that many episodes on networking was that if you're doing networking the correct way, it's really just making friends. The two activities are one and the same, and people compartmentalize them and treat them like they're two different things. And I think that's when people move into the networking scenario where they're doing it the wrong way.
Totally.
They're the douchebag that shows up at the conference. They're just trying to get business. They have no intention of adding value to anybody. They're just there to give you your elevator pitch, throw a business card in your face, and move on to the next person. And I found that the people that are the most well-connected people that I know are people who are just making friends. And they treat it as that activity.
Yep.
But I've also noticed as an adult with a lot of things going on, it's like increasingly more difficult to make friends, especially the more virtual the world goes.
Mm-hmm.
Like you used to make friends at work, and it's like, well, if 40-50% of the workforce is working virtually, then you check in as often as you need to, and then you're still at home and you still just like are a recluse and don't go out and don't need to do anything. And so we're getting ironically more and more disconnected the more connected we become. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a quick story or kind of a how-to, I guess, of like a friendship that's come into your life recently that was not someone you knew from high school or whatever, that's like a real friend, and how that friendship came about.
Absolutely. It's a great point. Like, I think it's an opportunity to have more relationships and friendships. You might not go as deep.
Yeah.
But I still feel like very close to people that some people I haven't even met in person, but just through shared interests and like on a mission to serve others, like the people that you want to be around come together and you form this bond, you form this community.
Yeah.
But yeah, a friend of mine, he's the best. He's from Iowa as well. Jordan Montgomery's his name. And we've just gotten really close and really deep as friends through shared interests. I mean, through loving Jesus, through sports, through the new personal development term that we created, through podcasting, just like so many shared interests of it. And the biggest thing was like, he really genuinely wanted to help me. And I really genuinely wanted to help him. And I think in that, like, that sense of not necessarily business growth, but like going out of your way to not just like, hey, I'm going to connect you with somebody, but I'm going to see it through and I'm going to make sure like everything goes smooth and going above and beyond. Same with Joel Marion. Joel Marion and I know you know Joel, you've had him on this podcast, have become very close because he's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I'm that kind of guy. I love developing relationships and I love celebrating others' success. Like that's why I love coaching NBA players and see them get whatever accolades that they get. Like that's my guy. I'm cheering them on. And when I see friends do that, and then I know like, I played a little role in that.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So I think when you give it to people, because I know you do too, and I do, I give so much to people and want to be there for everybody. But when you feel that these other people are reciprocating and they're filling your cup, and they're reaching out to you as well as like, man, what can I do? Like, how are you doing? Like, let's talk about it. How is relationships going for you? Those are the ways that it goes deep. Yeah. And then through it, like you said, these people become very good friends. And then we're like, man, let's do some crazy business stuff together. Let's create some stuff.
Right.
So me and Joel, me and Jordan, or me and John Gordon, like this stuff happens naturally from that. It's not the, hey, let's do this thing and then we'll go deep.
Right.
It's always the deep first.
And it wasn't connecting off of a business card at a conference and being like, let's go into business together tomorrow, you know?
I don't think I've had a business card since like 2013 when I was doing basketball camps. Like this is terrible.
Well, dude, thanks for first off, inviting us into your home and letting us invade your office and set up a bunch of stuff. What's like the big thing you're working on that you want people to go check out?
Check out the podcast,
Great.
David Nurse Show. I really want to continue to grow that, like we've been talking about. I do a personal coaching small group for super high achievers, people that want to literally take their lives to the next level in a lot of different areas. That new one is kicking off January 9th.
Okay.
So you can find that all on the website, davidnurse.com. But those are the two big ones.
So if you're checking out the show right now, then whatever podcast app you're listening to, pull it up, search David Nurse, give him a quick subscription, check out some episodes, tell him you heard about him here on the show. Dude, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for coming on. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Hey, you are my friend. You have made a friend.
It works.